CEO, fellow councillors, people in the gallery, and all of those coming in tonight looking online to the Mansfield Shire Council meeting, Tuesday, the 25th of November, 2025. We have all of our councillors in the meeting tonight and most of our officers. We have one officer online, the GM Investment and Planning, Ms. Melissa Crane. Melissa, can you hear and see us?
Yes, I can.
And we can hear and see you. Thank you. Apologies, Madam Chair.
No
CEO.
apologies, Mr. Mayor.
No apologies. I'll give the statement of commitment and after that I'll ask each councillor to confirm their commitment. As councillors of Mansfield Shire, we are committed to ensuring our behaviour meets the standards set by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct. We will, at all times, faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in us by the community. Councillor Team.
I confirm my commitment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure.
I confirm my commitment.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
I confirm my commitment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Brenny.
I confirm my commitment.
And I confirm my commitment. Thank you. Acknowledgement of country, Deputy Mayor.
Our meeting has been held on the traditional lands of the Taungurung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to all members of our community.
Thank you. Item 6, disclosure of conflicts of interest. I'll call on each councillor and I'll ask them to declare whether they have any conflicts of interest in relation to any agenda items tonight. Councillor Team.
I have no conflicts of interest in relation to any agenda items tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure.
No conflicts in relation to any agenda item tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
No conflicts in relation to tonight's agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Brenny.
I have a potential conflict to declare on the confidential agenda item 23.3, tender award of Lords Pavilion.
Thank you, councillor. And I have no conflict of interest in relation to any agenda item tonight. Confirmation of minutes is a recommended. Councillor Treasure.
I'd like to move a motion, please, Mr. Mayor, that the minutes of the Mansfield Shire Council meeting held on the 21st of October 2025 be confirmed as an accurate record.
Thank you, Councillor Team, second.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Motion is carried. Representations are 2, I believe, tonight. Sorry, I've lost the page. Over here. There are 2. Item 18.2.1, Star of the Glen Road, Bonnie Doon. There will be 2, and 18.2.2, planning permit application 57, stock route. There will be 2 of those 2. There'll be 1 online. So get to that one, we'll get to it. So notices of motion, there are none. The Mayor's report, I have taken that as read, councillors. Councillor Clark.
I'd like to move the council receive the Mayor's report for the period 22nd of October 2025 to 18th of November 2025.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Treasure. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 11 are the reports from council appointed representatives. The Australia Day Awards Committee has not met. The Gower Murray Climate Alliance, Councillor Brenny.
Yes, it has met since our last meeting. Met last Thursday, November 20 in Benalla for the AGM, which had good attendance, over 30 people, including Mansfield Shire officers James Alcanez and Kylie Russell. and that wrapped up the meetings for the year, and I was re-nominated and re-elected as chair of the committee for another year. And as part of my current year's tenure as chairperson, I had the opportunity to write the chairperson's report, which was good. And I just highlighted that the last 12 months has been yet another challenging year for the environment, with more records broken as a feature of my entire life. Being born in 94, of my 31 years, 25 of those have been the driest years on record. And in the last 10 years, each year has been the hottest year on record. So just goes to show that doing some efforts in this climate change space is really pivotal. And in the last 4 years, the GMCA has saved, for every $1 invested by members, $6 has been saved. And that's a net return on projects and funds was about $9.5 million and helped to abate over 100,000 tonnes. Of that, in the last year, Mansfield Shire avoided 136 tonnes of CO2 and had a savings of about $427,000. So it just goes to show that collective efforts, and they were mainly around the VECO, which was the decision of the last council to support, which is the Victorian Energy Collective on energy from renewable sources that a lot of councils across the state are doing. And the next year will be similar focus on these funds and furthering that program, as well as the Golden Murray Solar Savers. And that's all.
Thank you.
Ms. Mayor, can I just ask a question about that report? Because I did read your report, Councillor Ballerini, and where you mentioned that 25 of the driest years in your 31 on this planet have been in the last 31 years. Where did that statistic come from? Is that, I'm assuming that's like around the Goulburn Valley or Mansfield?
Yeah, from the CSIRO report on drought statistics over the last.
Well, could I just suggest that perhaps before you do statistics like that, you do your research? Because I thought that was a little bit high. So I went back and I looked at the 150-year rainfall of Mansfield Shire through the BOM, recorded rainfalls. And in fact, it's only 7 of those years are the driest on record of the last 31. So
this was for the entire country, not just our shire.
Okay, but you said it was for the Goulburn Broken Catchment Management, the Goulburn.
No,
region.
I didn't state at all where the region was. So for Australia, for my 31 years of it in Australia.
No, you didn't state it.
So
that's
not
right.
in Australia. It didn't state that it was in Goulburn. My apologies.
Well, we're very lucky here in Mansfield because only 7 of those years of the last 37 have been the driest.
Yeah. We live on one continent that is all connected. So these are all shared.
Given that the report
Yeah.
was related to Goulburn area, I was assuming that you were referring to that. But okay, that's interesting. Thank you.
Thanks
Yeah.
for the report, Councillor Brenny. Hume Regional Local Government Network, Harolgan, has not met. The Mansfield Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee met yesterday. Councillor Treasurer.
Thank you,
would like
Mr.
to
Mayor.
read the report. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Just like to give a summary of our audit and risk meeting held yesterday. It was attended by the external members, councillors, executive staff and representatives from AFS and associates, the internal auditors and the Victorian Auditor General's Office, who performed the external audit of the financial statements. Some of the items discussed were quarterly finance reports and carryover operational and capital grants, debt and investment schedule, child safety, risk management, OH&S and policy register. The internal auditors, the payroll audit has been completed with positive feedback on the process, and planning is now underway for the audit of the waste management sector. External audit, the 2024-25 final management letter has been received. The feedback from Vargo surrounding the most recent audit was overwhelmingly positive, with most historical and current findings resolved. This is a credit to the hard work of our finance team. Particular focus of this meeting was the issue of child safety and the council's responsibility from a legislative point of view, and more generally. Council has broadened the scope of working with Children Check to include councillors as well as council officers and there has been a campaign encouraging all community members to speak up if they have child safety concerns. An issue which was of particular concern to the committee members was the 4 reports of near-miss incidents around school crossings in the last 3 months. The question was asked as how the council was performing against the metrics that have been set. The feedback from all members and auditors concerning from both the financial management and governance within the Mansfield Shire Council was positive across the board. It was noted that there was much less red in inverted commas, which translates to the council policies are up to date and the financial deadlines are being met. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Treasurer.
Hmm.
Mansfield Shire CEO Employment Matters Committee has not met. The Municipal Association of Victoria has not met. North East Local Government Waste and Recovery Forum has not met. Rural Councils Victoria, Councillor T.
Yeah, they had the AGM on the 23rd of the 10th, 25. I think there was 68 delegates attended the meeting, which consisted of minutes, annual reports, financial statements. RCV made a surplus of $51,000 this last year, and they're increasing membership from, well, they put it to the meeting to increase membership from 5,500 to 5,750, which is a increase of 4.3%, which was passed. And then they talked about the advocacy work that they'd done throughout the year, the media, and the issues. One of particular note was that they are planning that they want to try and keep the ESV issue alive. That's the Emergency Services Volunteers Fund tax. And what they are proposing to do is, if councils want to participate, is to put up a sign at the entrance to town showing how much of tax that they have collected out of that council area and is going out of the region. And they will have it on some sort of big sign with a sliding scale on it. So, which I thought was a very good idea, and so did the rest of the meeting. And then they just talked about a bit more about drought support, and yeah, that was pretty much it.
Thank you. The Station Precinct Museum Community Asset Committee. We call it the CAC. And I attended that because I was chairing it on the 10th of November. We discussed governance documents and an MOU with Tungarong Land and Waters Council Incorporated. We were advised that there would be a Christmas party held on the grounds down there for the Historical Society, and the insurance for the museum assets, I suppose you call them, that was discussed as well. So that's an ongoing issue that we haven't resolved yet, I don't think, but it's not far away from being resolved. I'm talking to the committee's talking to Museum Victoria about that. So that's me. That's it. There's a recommendation before you, councillors. Councillor Treasurer.
I'll move the motion that council note the verbal reports provided by councillors in relation to their representation on internal and external committees.
Looking for a seconder. Councillor Clark. All those in favour? Passed. Item 12. Pursuant to the Local Government Act 2020 and the Mansfield Shire Council governance rules, the Chief Executive Officer shall act as chairperson until the election of the mayor is conducted.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Mayor.
resign. Down to you.
Thank you. So in accordance with the Local Government Act and 2020 and the Mansfield Shire Council governance rules, I, as the Chief Executive Officer, shall act as chairperson until the election of the mayor is concluded. First, like to give the opportunity and for a speech from the outgoing mayor and a vote of thanks to that. Would you like to give your speech now,
I
Mr.
would.
Mayor?
I would, thanks, Madam Chair. Councillors, staff and members of our Mansfield community. As my year as mayor ends, I want to take the opportunity to reflect on what we have achieved together and to thank you for the trust that you placed in me. Over the past year, we've delivered and continue to work on important projects that strengthen our shire. We invested in local roads and community facilities. We improved recreational spaces and supported initiatives that boost tourism and local business. We also engaged deeply with our residents to shape long-term strategies, including the council plan, the financial plan and community vision, ensuring Mansfield's future reflects the priorities of our community. I'm particularly proud that we delivered rates below the state government's rate cap while maintaining sound financial planning. This demonstrates our commitment to easing the burden on households while ensuring council remains financially sustainable and able to deliver quality services. This year brought challenges. State reforms and new taxes placed pressure on local government, and we worked hard to balance growth with the preservation of Mansfield's rural character. Through collaboration and determination, we faced these challenges head on and kept our focus on serving the community. What stands out most is the spirit of Mansfield. From recognising our Citizen Award recipients to celebrating community events, we saw repeatedly that our greatest strength lays in our people. These moments reminded us why we serve, to support and celebrate the community we love. As I step down, I do so with pride in what we have all accomplished this year and the confidence in Mansfield's future. The foundations that we've laid in infrastructure planning and advocacy will guide the next council year to that important work. So thank you for your support, your trust and your commitment to Mansfield Shire. It's been an honour to serve as your mayor. And when I say we, I'm talking about councillors and our council staff. So thanks, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to provide the opportunity now for any councillor to respond to the outgoing mayor's speech and then to move, if you so desire, that it be recorded in the minutes.
I'd just like to thank Councillor Rabi, as he is now, for his work as mayor. He's been a very passionate and active mayor, and also led myself and the rest of the council, because I mean I was a new person coming in, so he's been a wonderful guide and a great support for all of us. And I'd just like to move that this speech be entered into the minutes, please.
And
Madam
do I have a seconder? Yep. Councillor Clear. Would you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, no, I will. I'd like to congratulate Mayor Rabi on another successful term as mayor. I know he's a very hard-working mayor, and everyone comments around the place how he gets out and gets to everything, and you know, well, he tells us this himself as well too, so that's always good. But I do see him out and about and doing a lot of hard work. So well done, congratulations on a good term, good year.
Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion before I put it to the vote? No? Okay, all in favour? Thank you. Motion's carried. And we will include the outgoing mayor's speech in the minutes. Okay, on to the next item on the agenda. Is the first item is determination of the mayoral term. the Local Government Act 2020 states that before a mayor is elected, the council must determine by resolution whether the mayor is to be elected for a 1 year or a 2 year term. I now ask councillors for a motion in regards to the mayoral term as recommended on page 10 of your agenda. Do you have a move? Yep.
I have a
Councillor
motion.
Rowe.
Madam Chair, the council determines the length of the mayoral term to be a period of 1 year and determines the next mayoral election to be held at the November 2026 scheduled meeting of council.
Thank
Second
you.
that,
And we
Madam
have a
Chair.
seconder, councillor Clark. Any other comments on that motion? No. All those for the motion? Okay, no, none against. The motion is carried. Thank you. So the term having been determined, I'll now move to the election of the mayor. In accordance with Mansfield Shire governance rules, I'll facilitate the election of the mayor in accordance with the provisions of the Act. The election of the mayor will be carried out by a show of hands. I have received the following nomination for mayor. Councillor Steve Raby has been nominated by Councillor James Tian. Councillor Raby, do you accept the nomination for the role of mayor?
I do, Madam Chair.
Councillors, the recommendation is before you on page 13. May I have a motion that Councillor Raby be appointed to the role of Mayor of Mansfield Shire, please? Councillor Tian?
I'll move that pursuant to the provisions of section 25 and 26 of the Local Government Act 2020, council appoints Councillor Raby as Mayor of Mansfield Shire for a term of 1 year, no later than the scheduled meeting of 25th of November 2026, that should say, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. Thank you. Thanks very much, Councillor Tian. May I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Treasure.
Chair.
Would anyone like to speak? Would you like to speak to that motion?
No,
No. Anyone? Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? No. All in favour then? The motion is carried. And Councillor Raby is duly elected as Mayor of Mansfield Shire for the term ending in November 2026. Congratulations, Mayor Raby. I now invite you to assume the chair again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
CEO. I've probably said enough in that speech outgoing, but I am humbled and glad to accept the trust that you've got in me for another year, and just keep going and serve our community with a keen eye on the finance and make sure we get the best bang for our buck. So item 16.1 is the election of the deputy mayor. There is in accordance with the Mansfield Shire governance rules, the election of the deputy mayor will be carried out by a show of hands. The CEO has received the following nomination for deputy mayor. Councillor Mandy Treasure nominates Councillor James Tian. Councillor James Tian, do you accept the nomination for role as deputy mayor?
Yeah.
Councillors, the recommendation is before you on page 15 of your agenda. May I have a motion that Councillor Tian be appointed to the role of deputy mayor of Mansfield Shire, please? Councillor Treasure.
That pursuant to the provisions of sections 27 of the Local Government Act 2020, council appoints Councillor James Tian as Deputy Mayor of Mansfield Shire for a term of 1 year, no later than the scheduled meeting of 25th of November 2026.
And may I have a seconder, please? Well, I'll second the motion then. Seconded by Councillor Raby. The motion is carried and councillor Teen is duly elected as deputy mayor for the Mansfield Shire Council.
Point of order, Mr Mayor, you need to go to a vote.
Oh, sorry. Didn't say it on my script.
Sorry.
I'm just reading the script. I'm sorry, yeah. Absolutely, councillor. Councillor Tehan, Treasurer, has put the motion. Councillor Raby has seconded, and I will call on a vote to the motion. All those in favour? Abstaining or,
No, you haven't asked for the second.
sorry?
All those against?
Oh, all those against?
Thank you.
Motion is carried. Councillor Teen, congratulations. Deputy Mayor for another year.
Thank you.
Okay, oh, 16.1. 17 public question time. Now, I have a question here before me. However, under governance rules 2022 52.9, a question may be disallowed by the chair if the chair determines that it relates to proposed developments, which this question does, and I think that it would be unfair to read that question tonight, given that in our agenda that particular development is going to come under scrutiny, so I'm going to disallow that question. Council officers, if you make sure that that's in the agenda minutes. Officer reports 18.1, the Chief Executive Officer's report. CEO, councillors, have you got any questions? CEO on her report.
No.
I've got a couple of questions. CEO, on page, sorry?
Sorry, no.
On page 12 of your report, it mentions that there will be a pump track completed by December 2025. Is that correct?
Yes, that is in the report. That was a report for October. We have awarded that contract, but the design process will go before construction. I have been advised by our Capital Works team that due to the timing of that design, it's likely that the pump track will not be completed until around April, just depending on how long the final stakeholder engagement takes. So it is on track to be completed this financial year, but will be a bit later than what was in the October report. So we'll update that next month.
Pump track's on track.
It's on track.
That's good stuff. Yeah, page 25 mentions the FOGO,
Mhm.
the waste. I noticed that the FOGO's up, which is good. The recycling's up. That's really good. The landfill's also up. My take on it was a sort of a spring cleaning. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We normally get a peak associated with things like school holidays and also long weekends, because we have a lot of our non-resident ratepayers come up and take the opportunity to do a bit of a spring cleanup. So we're not actually surprised to see that those numbers up in October.
Yeah, sure. And the last one, I'm sorry to flick back, it's page 19. The planning permit performance graph. Help me read that graph. It looks as though it's going down, but is down good?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, There is two axes on this graph. One is the average days to determination, and that is a bit of a measure of, you know, how long in total a permit has taken to determine, and that has actually reduced down to 20 days in that month. And the other axis is percent determined within the statutory period of 60 days. And I'm very pleased to report that that result for the month of October was 100%. So 100% of our applications were determined within the statutory timeframe. So that actually is a very good result.
Yeah, sure is. Thanks. So, is there any other questions? Have a. Councillor Clark?
I'd like to move the council receive and note the chief executive officer's report for the period 1st of October 2025 to the 31st of October 2025.
Okay, we've got a seconder, councillor Brony. Anyone want to speak to it?
No, thank you.
No, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Okay, 18.2.1 is the planning permit application for P040/23 Star of the Glen Road, Bonnie Doon. And there were a couple of deputations for this one. And Anjit, is that? Yes, I'm terribly sorry for the pronunciation. Would you like to come up and you get 3 minutes to do your deputation to us? You know, it's 3 minutes. Okay.
Sure, thank you.
No worries.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and thank you to dear council members for this opportunity to present the vision of, you know, what we are trying to build here. But before I come to the vision, just want to acknowledge the various sensitivities that are associated with this application, including bushfire risk, waste management, the how this project could impact on the visuals and the scenic appearance of the valley over there, and everything else associated with it in terms of traffic and everything. And I hope we have been adequately been able to address each one of them. And if you will look at the back and forth and all the communication that we have had with the council in this regard in the last 3 years, you would see that we are committed to addressing each one of these issues to the maximum harmony of all parties involved. So to create a win-win. The idea behind this is to not cause any harm or any disturbance to anybody involved in this context. And now, having addressed this, I would like all the council members to take a moment to see the vision behind this. So I personally help people that find inner peace and harmony within, which is getting increasingly more important in a world where more and more number of people today are battling stress, anxiety, depression, overwhelm, burnout, and all kinds of things. So the idea behind this project is to create a safe haven where people come and discover how to reconnect with themselves, how to reconnect with peace within. My clientele typically, so I do this online and worldwide. So my clients are across US, UK, Canada, obviously Australia, New Zealand, and across the globe, basically in all English-speaking places. My clients are typically high income groups, very educated professionals, high achievers, entrepreneurs, so very educated people. The point that I'm making with this is we are not attracting a rowdy crowd who will come and cause disruption. These are all very educated, very well-behaved people who are, their natural day-to-day life is very stressful. So that's where they come and, to reconnect with themselves, with inner peace. But there are some specific advantages that this brings to the, council as a whole. So increasing tourism These are high income earning people, so they'll come, they'll spend more in the town, further increasing tourism. The work that we are doing and the marketing that happens will bring Mansfield in the visibility of the global community, where people go, yeah, I want to work with me. I'm known as Brahma Rishi online. And he is based in in Mansfield, in High Country, Victoria. So this also becomes more known as a tourist destination. Also, sorry, finally, I'll just
if you can wrap it up.
I'll just wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the vision, to help the community in this way and help people, find wellness and well-being within. More than happy to continue to cooperate with any concerns of anybody involved, including neighbors, including community, including council. So I'm available for any questions, any concerns, if you would like to, raise them or ask. Thank you so much for this opportunity again.
Thank you, Eddie. Good. Has any councillors got any questions? Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Sorry, just one, just wondering, it's during the process of dealing with objections, it was mentioned that there might be noise travelling through the valley, but it's in our notes, it says the landowner will be on site to ensure appropriate behaviour and to restrict any unreasonable noise. I take it that's you?
Yes, I'm the owner. I'll be living on property.
And you'll be living there permanently?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. We also have in person Mr. Paul Williamson, a resident. Paul, would you like to come up and just say your name, and you've got 3 minutes?
Yeah, my name's Paul Williamson. The reason I'm brought this forward to you guys tonight is that we got told that the property was up for sale. It has recently come to our attention that the property is now listed for sale. I'll just put my glasses on so I can read this because I wrote it out. With the listing publicly available through John Caravan Real Estate, image of the realestate.com confirms that the property is actively being marketed. This new information raises significant concern about the significance of granting a planning permit under the proposed current before you. When the application seeks approval for a business or land use purpose, the integrity of the proposed relies heavily on the long-term intensity of the owner. However, if the property is sold shortly after a permit is issued, there is a real possibility that the future owner may have different operational goals, different expectations on how the land will be used, or even to intend to purchase the activities outlined in the original application. The rest of it, we was brought up in the other times we come here and all that, but I just wanted to get that out, that it does say that the property is for sale, and we were concerned that if it is for sale, what's going to happen in the future if it's sold and it's not a spiritual property. If it is a spiritual, we totally support that. We've actually spoken a few times and we're happy with that. It's just our concerns with the roads, the fire danger period, if they are bringing in a lot more different people, what's going to happen in the future for the land in the area, the roads, the fire danger, and there is only one way in and out for fires. So that was our concern. So I won't read the rest of it because I believe that everything was being mentioned there, but it's just that sale of the property.
Thanks, Mr. Williamson. Any questions from the councillors? Thank you very much for coming in. Sorry. So the responsible officer is Ms. Wilkinson, and welcome tonight. Councillors, questions for Ms. Wilkinson? Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Wilkinson, how does the sale of a property affect current planning permit? Does it affect the current planning permit at all?
So the information that we as officers are looking at are associated with this title owner. And the assessment is based on what's been submitted as part of this application. So if the applicant were to sell the property, if there's a decision or a live planning permit, that live planning permit would then carry to the purchaser. It would be up to the purchaser then to make some decisions in terms of if they want to go ahead and build those cabins, if they want to operate it like that, if they have a different vision that requires planning assessment again. If they wanted to do something more intensive, it would need to come back to us. So the planning permit, if issued, will go with the sale of the land. However, if they wanted to change the scope of what's proposed, it's likely that that would trigger a planning permit
Okay, thank you.
again.
So that would be a change of use type permit then, would it?
Yeah, great question. It would be a amendment to an existing application. A planning permit amendment, a section 72 amendment.
Yep.
So it would be a potentially for re-advertising to neighbours. It's essentially re-examining the planning permit and what the triggers are. We could potentially go back to the Water Authority and to Enviro Health to look at the septic requirements, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. The question, Councillor Breen?
Through you, Mr. Ware, Ms. Wilkinson, just with regards to the land capability assessment report and the effluent field, if you go in the AG geotechnical in their map, on page 22, has there the suitable locations of treatment? One mainly relating to the disposal area, considering the slope of the block. And then if you go to the plans for it, it looks like the driveway and the shed go very close all through that area. I can't see it marked on the plan. Where is the effluent set to go, that disposal area?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that's an excellent question. And that's actually in the consideration of this application. Our environmental health team raised that with us in planning as well, to actually see where the infrastructure on site would be located. So this application has been referred to Goulburn Murray Water, who have agreed in principle with the nominated areas for effluent dispersal, so the lines essentially. However, the precise infrastructure in the ground has yet to be provided to us. And as such, our Enviro Health team have recommended that the conditions require amended plans that show a higher level of detail in terms of where that infrastructure would be situated in ground, given those exact constraints that you raised, the topography and this thing. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah, thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. Further to the bushfire risk, and do you know what the CFA requirements are for access? Just noting how steep this block is, just with the driveway, if there's any concerns there.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, another great question. So bushfire was another area where the applicant has provided significant reiterations of the bushfire planning parameters needed to provide for safety for the cabins. It is a single access road in and out. However, you'll see on the plans how the intent is to create a loop around so that the emergency vehicles can go into the site and exit the site in a forward motion. And it is required to meet the passing bay area for a truck to pull off and allow another vehicle potentially to pass. So the applicant has actually provided 5 iterations of a bushfire management statement to address all the specific requirements to meet their bushfire planning for sites in places with the bushfire management overlay and high bushfire risk.
Mr. Wilkinson, is it normal to have a 3-year not commenced within 3 years? Is that a normal period of time, or is it?
Just to clarify, are you talking about the planning permit expiry?
Permanent
provision?
expiry, yeah, sorry about that.
No,
So, yeah, they're permanent expiry, so 3 years and 5 years completion is that normal, or is it
So-
2 and 5, 2 and 4.
Good catch. That, Melissa, you'll be able to give me some help in terms of when that was updated in terms of the recommendation. That's been a recent change in terms of from the state government in terms of our standard 2 years and 5 years to complete, which through my duration at council has always been the standard.
Yeah.
That's now changed to 3 and it's extended.
So it's a state government.
I believe so.
Mr. Mayor, if I might add to that one, just to assist, the recommendations that have come out of the changes that were released during the March recommendations from the state government were actually intended to be rolled out today. I haven't yet had confirmation that those changes to the Act have been made, but it was a position of Department of Transport and Planning that be a recommendation that councils commence to adopt as a standard expiration condition. Effectively to reduce the need for people to apply to extend their permits, because there has been substantial applications lately where people have not been able to commence their developments within 2 years due to delays in other areas, being building permits, construction materials, etc. This aims to have less applications come before council to keep permits live to allow people to commence.
Thank you, Senior Coordinator of Planning. Thank you for that. Interesting. Any other questions? Because we do have a recommendation before us.
Just one question, really. So if the property did sell, and there was it'd be only a physical change of use. So if at the moment it's a wellness retreat or a nice, quiet, calm. So if that was actually marketed to a totally different group, would that alter the planning, or would it only be if there was a physical change?
So yeah, through you, Mr. Pettit, excellent question. The current use of the property is a residential property. It has a dwelling on it, and this permit would enable the use for group accommodation, so it allows for the cabins. If the cabins aren't built and the use doesn't commence in the 3 years, then that use would never have been acted on and would.
Right, yeah, okay.
So the cabins would have to, the group accommodation component of the permit would actually have to be built for it to.
Right, yeah. Yes.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, I might just add, in terms of how, if a new owner decided to build the cabins and not use them as a wellness retreat, but for just a normal form of short-term accommodation, that would be allowed. But conditions 6, 7 and 8 have been placed on the permit recommendation that talk about managing the amenity impacts from use that may occur there, regardless of whether it's a wellness retreat or used for just normal short-term accommodation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah.
There's a recommendation on page 27, councillors. Councillor Clark.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move that council resolve to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit for planning permit application PO 4023 for the use and development of land for group accommodation, 6 cabins, and development of land for an agricultural shed at lot 8 on PS 316101J, commonly known as 180 Star of the Glen Road, Bonnie Doon, in accordance with the endorsed plans and subject to the conditions listed on page 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 and 32 of tonight's agenda.
Correct. Have I got a second to the motion? Councillor Brennan? Does anyone want to speak to the motion, councillors? Does anyone want to speak against the motion, councillors? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is passed. We got out of that lightly, Ms. Wilkinson. No, nothing. The next one. Thank you for coming in tonight. You're welcome to stay if you want to. So agenda item 18.2.2 is the planning permit application P052/25, which is the 57 Stock Route Mansfield. Responsible officer is Senior Coordinator Planning Nicole Embling. Welcome, Ms. Embling, again. Quite a large application, councillors. We've got questions.
What their deputation is.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Deputation. David Lang?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that pronounced right, Dave?
That's correct.
Sorry for, I've been watching you all day.
No, that's fine.
So if you got deputations for 3 minutes, just state your name and go ahead with it.
Sure. Yeah, David Lang, so Mayor Raby, Deputy Mayor Tehan and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is David Lang and I'm the co-founder of Springtree, which is a developer and operator of over 55 lifestyle communities and the applicant of the permit application. Springtree was founded to address one of regional Victoria's most pressing needs, high quality, affordable and age-appropriate housing for downsizers and retirees. Our focus is on regional towns where the population is ageing quickly and where housing choice for older residents is limited. We have over 700 home lots across 3 communities in Cobram, Yarrawonga and Warragul. Our team brings deep experience from Australia's largest land lease and retirement operators, including Ingenia, Lincoln Place, Stockland and Hometown. We are financially backed by Assembly Funds Management and National Australia Bank, ensuring stability and long-term delivery. The land lease model is a proven model that is well established across Australia, with over 135 residents living in a land lease community. Residents own their own home and lease the land. And if the resident is eligible to receive Commonwealth Rent Assistance, the costs of their lease can be partially subsidised. We price our homes to generally sit below the median house price, which allows residents to free up equity from the sale of their home, providing them financial stability in their later years. Springtree does not charge a DMF or deferred management fee or exit fees, and the resident has the ability to sell when they want, how they want, and to retain all capital gains. Each resident enters a site agreement that is governed by the Residential Tenancies Act of Victoria, providing clear rights, protections, and responsibilities for the resident. These agreements also include community rules relating to areas such as speed limits on internal roads, visitor parking, pets, noise and amenity, and safe use of common areas. This framework ensures safety, harmony, and a peaceful environment for all residents. The defining part of our model is our long-term commitment. Springtree owns, operates, and manages every community we build. We don't build and leave. We become a long-standing member of the community. We bring multiple benefits to the Mansfield community, including sponsorships and partnerships of local clubs, generating local employment through the construction phase and the ongoing management of the community. And we develop, own and maintain all our internal services and common areas at no cost to council, the authorities or ratepayers. Further, the independent research is clear. Residents of land lease communities experience measurable improvements in their well-being as opposed to ageing in isolation in a large home with the burden and cost of maintenance. These benefits flow directly into Mansfield by reducing pressure on healthcare and aged care services and by strengthening social support networks around older residents. In terms of design, we leverage our team's extensive experience across land lease and retirement. We've taken considerable time and care to ensure highly functional and age-appropriate design, from the master plan to the clubhouse and the individual homes. We recognise that Mansfield has a unique rural character and natural beauty, and our intention is to blend seamlessly into that environment. Mansfield is experiencing one of regional Victoria's fastest ageing trends. The population is forecast to grow from 10,000 today to more than 12,000 by 2031, with 1 in 3 residents to be over 65. That equates to an additional 1,000 seniors in the next 5 to 6 years. However, supply is limited with one retirement village and one small land lease community. Based on national benchmarks, Mansfield already needs 240 to 300 senior appropriate dwellings, rising to 350 or more early next decade. The planning strategy emphasises the need for ageing in place, increased housing choice and medium density living. The government is investing in aged care capacity, but that supports only high care needs. What's missing is the middle layer. Independent, community-focused housing that keeps older residents healthy and connected.
Have you got much to go? Because you're
I'll close now. In closing,
Yeah.
proposed Springtree Mansfield community offers high quality, affordable housing for local seniors, long-term economic benefits, reduced pressure on public health and aged care systems, privately funded and maintained infrastructure, opportunity to free up established homes for families, generate new local employment, and a stable, experienced, well-funded operator committed to being your partner for decades. We are proud to bring this proposal and look forward to working closely with the council and the community. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Granny?
Just a quick one. People who are under 55, are they able to live there?
Legally they can, but under the Anti-Discrimination Act of Victoria, but generally you don't find people under 55 moving in. Our average age of resident is around 68.
That was actually going to be my question, but I just did have one other one. So the person buys the home, they obviously own the house, but not the land it sits on. If they move to higher care or whatever happens, it's on them to sell it like would be in a normal, yes, so to speak. There's no arrangement if they've moved on. The house just sits until they've sold it on. It's up to them to actually transact.
Yeah, so the resident has, they can either sell the home through us, they can sell it through a local agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's up to them how they'd like.
So they
to sell.
can, they can actually sell through you,
Yeah.
but you won't pay them out after a certain period of time or anything like that.
No,
or-
we've gone above and beyond the Residential Tenancies Act of
Yep.
Victoria. So what we say, if you pass away or if you go into care, and your estate or your family cannot resell it, we'll stop charging fees after 6 months.
Okay.
To take that burden away.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Can you address concerns, and there might not be a risk here at all, but with the land leasing model, what would happen if Springtree or the backing organisation, God forbid, went bankrupt or stepped out of that deal? What would happen to that plot of land and those residents?
I guess you'd have administrators coming in, and they'd be looking to sell to another operator to step in and take that over.
Are there provisions in place at all for that to then be subdivided into individual lots? Has this ever happened?
No, not that I'm aware of. It's never been. I'm not aware of any that have been subdivided into individual lots. It's something that can be considered, but obviously, you'd have to take into consideration all the authority assets, given their private assets.
Yeah.
How that is then handed back to the authorities and council as well.
Yep. I just speaking from the residents' perspective, you can mostly guarantee that the land is not going to disappear out from under them when it comes to your organisation's management.
Yes, and they're covered, and they've got that comfort under the Residential Tenancies Act that we can't actually do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Councillor
Mr. Lang, how long have you had your villages at, is it Tokemore and Cobram?
Cobram and Yarrawonga.
Yarrawonga, sorry, yeah. How long have they been operating for up there? And what are the size of those, say, compared to these in terms of the actual dwellings and the actual lot sizes?
So we took over from that. We bought those in November of last year. Cobram and Yarrawonga. And we've recently exchanged on Warrigal. The average size is about 12.5 by 20, which is about 250 square metres for lot sizes. And you're averaging around 120 square metres for a home with garage and porch and deck.
So this is the first one you've actually developed?
No, I have 20 years in seniors living, working for Lendlease, Stockland, Ryman Healthcare. As a venture of Springtree, these are the first, Cobram and Yarrawonga.
So you purchased them, Springtree purchased those last year.
Correct. Yep.
This is the first one that Springtree is actually building.
No, we're developing those two, Cobram and Yarrawonga. They're under development at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Cobram has over 40 residents living there now. We're about to move our first residents into Yarrawonga in January.
Okay. So what would you anticipate the average stay length would be in one of your villages then?
Most people, as I said, move in sort of early to mid 60s, and with aging in place and home care, that stays becoming longer and longer now. So you can look 20 years, if not more, because that takes the burden off the aged care service in the local area as well. It's really until they need that care. Because we have the management there, they have the local community within that village supporting them as well, and the homes are designed to allow for that as well. So it's the ideal location for them to age in place with that community and support around them.
And do you have managers, property managers that live on site there that maintain all the internal assets?
They don't live on site. They work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but are on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. And yet they run all components of the community, not only from maintenance and upkeep, but also to activating the community, arranging events, excursions, and exercise classes within the clubhouse. So yeah, they're responsible for all those activities.
But if there was a pothole that formed, they would be the ones that get the call and fix it?
100%, yep.
And on all your
Yeah.
on big pardon, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
All your villages or how I don't know, facilities all based on the same plan with the childcare centre and the community centre and the indoor pool?
No, not all.
Not no.
They are all based with the clubhouse, which includes a wellness centre, which is generally an indoor pool, gym, multi-purpose rooms, communal bar, lounge, dining, library, meeting areas, amenities. You have lawn bowls, rinks, pickleball, dog park, and work shed. The childcare centre, that was on the original permit with Mansfield, but we see a lot of synergies there, because quite often the grandparents will want to. It's great they can live next door to where the kids are. They'll quite often pick up the kids in the afternoon till the parents can come home from work, and it actually works quite well.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, would regular members of Mansfield be able to go to that gym and pool and use those amenities, or just for residents?
No, it's just the residents. That's what their site fees go towards, is paying for the upkeep of that. So it is exclusively for the people who are living there.
Good. Okay, thanks, Mr. Lang.
Thank you.
We have another deputation, Ms. Mandy Edwards online, I believe. We in the waiting room. Ms. Edwards, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, my name's Councillor Steve Roby, the Mayor. Welcome tonight online. You have 3 minutes to deliver your deputation. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, have I got background noise?
Not much. I think we. Okay, this end. Looking at
Thank
my
you.
tech people.
Okay, I'll proceed. Mayor, councillors, thank you.
You might have your live thing on the background, have you? No?
That's all right.
I have turned my computer off, so
Okay.
are we right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yes.
I'll reset the clock.
Technical difficulties. Apologies.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Mayor, councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mandy Edwards and I lead the built environment team at Mill American, engaged by the applicant to manage this application. We've been through a detailed site analysis process and engaged various specialists to inform the layout, including an arborist, traffic engineer and stormwater consultant. This proposal represents a significant and positive step forward for the community, addressing critical needs in housing diversity and affordability, much needed childcare and sustainable development. With 185 dwellings designed around a community centre and associated open space with a range of outdoor activities, this development will provide lifestyle options that are currently limited in the region. It aligns with the state government's housing targets and council's own strategic objective to plan and deliver sustainable development. Importantly, this proposal has been carefully designed to manage environmental considerations, and we have made a significant effort to retain high quality trees. The community centre was specifically located and designed to enable retention of 3 high quality remnant trees, and this creates a sense of identity, maintaining the Mansfield character. 2 further native trees are retained within the residential areas of the village, and extensive new landscaping is proposed to ensure the village presents a leafy character. There is a new tree to be planted in the front garden of each unit and within common areas, resulting in more than 200 new trees, the majority of which are proposed to be native species. We support the office's assessment of the native vegetation framework that trees on the stock root land have already been granted approval for removal and offset accordingly. The single native tree to be removed on the Dead Horse Lane portion of the site has been assessed and is not considered suitable for retention in a residential setting. The loss of this tree will be offset in accordance with the permit conditions. Stormwater and traffic impacts have been addressed through detailed engineering and road upgrade commitments, including sealing stock route, constructing a shared footpath and closing the southern end of stock route to prevent through traffic to the highway. We acknowledge that objections have been received. We've met with these objectors and we have provided written responses. The application has undergone rigorous assessment against the planning scheme. All referral authorities have provided conditional consent, and the matters raised by the objectors typically relate to detailed engineering design, which is a post-permit matter. These have been appropriately addressed through permit conditions. The internal access ways are a private and low-speed shared environment with a resident agreement that outlines expectations for use, including a speed limit of 10 kilometres. As such, footpaths are not typically seen in these developments, but this aside, the applicant is willing to accept the condition that requires a footpath on one side of the internal access ways to ensure that the infrastructure and features that Mansfield residents value are provided. The design revisions and permit conditions ensure that issues such as traffic, amenity and environmental impacts are appropriately managed. The conditions in the form recommended by the planning officer are fair and reasonable. For these reasons, we urge councillors to support the officer recommendation and issue a notice of decision to grant a permit. It is a well-considered proposal that meets planning requirements and delivers long-term benefits for Mansfield. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Edwards. Councillor, got any questions for Ms. Edwards? No. Yes, Councillor Tian.
Yes, Ms. Edwards, just in relation to the childcare centre, at what stage do we propose building that in terms of the development stages?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Tian. There is no fixed staging for the childcare. It won't be developed by Springtree and will be operated by a third party. So the timing of that is subject to demand. It's not fixed at this stage.
So there's no certainty around that will be built then?
Oh, look, it's intended that the subdivision occurs. It's stage A on the plan, but that is subject to the demand of the operator. And David may be better placed to answer this question if he wishes to speak and is allowed to answer.
Yes, sorry, David. Do you want to ask another question for Mr. Lang? Which goes outside our normal operating.
No, I thought Ms. Edwards could answer it.
Yep.
That's fine.
Sorry, just got a process. Is it any other questions? No other question. Thanks, Ms. Edwards. We'll pop you back into the waiting room to watch the rest of the proceedings. Thanks for
Thank you very
coming.
much.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, heard the deputations. The responsible officer is Ms. Embling. Any questions for Ms. Embling regarding this agenda item 18.2.2? Councillor Team?
You're right. Miss Embling, I have a bit of difficulty understanding how how that spring tree and the other businesses in the area that are developing are going to come to some sort of apportionment on the infrastructure developments that need to be done. Where's Miss Embling? Can you the applicant has said that council and DTP are best placed to determine this, but council seem to say that don't have a mechanism to apply cost sharing requirements. So where do we sit on that?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, I can answer that question. A lot of councils do have what's called a development contributions plan or a development contributions overlay, which is where council would typically step in and allocate or require certain contributions or percentages. Mansfield doesn't have any policy like that. And as is reflected in the officer recommendation, there's a number of conditions that do require infrastructure that could potentially be shared by other developing parties with nearby land. A good example of which is the intersection upgrade at Midland Highway and Dead Horse Lane, which is on our heavy vehicle bypass and a Department of Transport managed road. So Department of Transport have placed conditions on this application proposal for an upgrade requirement of that intersection. There are existing planning permits that council has issued with similar conditions. Ultimately, Department of Transport don't mind who does that development upgrade, and it is largely up to whoever goes first with their development. And therefore, it can be left to the developers to then engage one another and take a joint venture to reduce their own costs to get that upgrade to benefit all parties, ultimately resulting in the same outcome at a reduced cost to each developer. The same model would then apply to other upgrades of council conditions that we might place on a permit. In this example, the development of stock route in particular, especially where it's placed north of the subject land and not directly adjoining the subject site, might be somewhere this particular developer might look to get assistance or joint buy-in from other developers in the area as well. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does, but it doesn't solve the issue. I mean, what happens if the other developers just say, no, we're not going to contribute? Where does that leave Springtree?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the conditions that are placed in the officer recommendation do require effectively Springtree to do these developments. If they can't get buy-in from other developers, it would be 100% at their cost. And that development is reliant on those infrastructure upgrades. It's not a means of negotiation that they can't get help from other developers. Council would be requiring those infrastructure upgrades.
Okay, yeah, no, that's very clear. Yeah, no, I don't have anything further on that. Thanks.
Councillor Bruni?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Embling, just in relation to native veg removal, and then specifically tree 39, which is in the Dead Horse Lane portion of the block. and noting in the tree health condition report that it is in decline, but also sorry, in the recommendation section, it just says that these are guidelines do not constitute construction impact assessment. Are you able to explain what a construction impact assessment is and when that would be required? Say if there was conditions put on the recommendation to change plans to protect that tree, what would be required around that, and potentially how many blocks would they lose if they were to protect that tree?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. There's a lot to that question. I'll try and unpack it one at a time. Please bear with me if I miss something. So right now, the officer recommendation includes the removal of tree number 39, which is located on the property at 104 Dead Horse Lane, so the northern portion of the site. As we heard from Ms. Edwards earlier, the arborist provided as part of the submission has detailed an assessment of that tree and deemed that it is of poor quality and would likely pose safety hazards if there was development around that tree, such as the residential village. If the tree was retained, I apologise, I'm not sure how many dwellings would need to be lost to keep that tree. Based on previous correspondence with the permit applicant, when they have reviewed their proposal to retain other trees on the site, they, I believe they did sacrifice 2 to 4 dwellings per tree to be retained, and I imagine that it may be similar in this instance. To retain that tree physically on the land, it would require a redesign of the proposal and may require internal road alignments to change. And possibly see quite a different layout and the dwellings, particularly in that northern section. But what's really important to understand is that if that if the tree was to be retained on the land, given the density of the development and the infrastructure requirements with servicing as well, it's likely that that tree would still be deemed as lost because the encroachment into its very large tree protection zone would be significant, even if a number of the dwellings were removed around the tree. And so a planning permit would still be required for what we call destruction of a tree. It's a horrible word, and I apologise for the policy. And as such, it would still be required to be offset. But council has issued permits in the past where trees have been retained and offset. But specific conditions have required trees to be maintained until such time as they are no longer safe or posing a risk to the community.
Thank you for unpacking that. So say it did hypothetically remove 5 houses and adopt it to 180 dwellings. Are there any similar density developments around the Mansfield Shire that are comparable? Just to visualise what this might look like.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the development at BLI, being the other land lease residential village that's been spoken about tonight as well, is similar, but the lot sizes and dwellings are slightly larger, and the road pavements and space in between dwellings where the common property areas are is quite larger again. So in terms of a direct comparison, I'm not actually aware that we have density of this scale in our shire. This would be something new for Mansfield and would offer up a different diversity than what we are used to.
And are there, following on from that, is BLI a gated community? Are there any other gated communities in the shire?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would have to take that question on notice. I'm not actually aware of whether or not BLI is gated. The physical constraints of the site certainly enable public thoroughfare, but I'm not personally aware of the specific arrangements for BLI. Aside from BLI, though, I'm not aware that we have any other gated communities in our shire.
Thank you. And then just relating to our council plan, 2025 to 2029, in strategic objectives of that is have a vibrant connected community, is a gated community aligned with that strategic vision?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that strategic objectives does aim to achieve quite a broad variety for our Shire. And to some respect, this proposal does align with that objective in the sense that the residents of the residential village would be a part of potentially quite a tight-knit community that would have relevant connections through to the Mullum wetlands, walking ability into the Mansfield Township and surrounding footpath networks and the like. It is been made clear that that development is closed to the public in the sense that non-residents are not able to use the community centre. And I believe Mr. Lang spoke quite clearly on that matter, but the residents themselves would have the opportunity to be very connected across the Mansfield Shire.
Thank you, Ms. Endling. Got another one?
Yep, yeah.
In terms of traffic management, traffic flow, considering that with the station precinct master plan cutting the access route from Stockman's to Maroondah Highway, and with the future plans or dream to have a roundabout on the Midland Highway, what happens with this development in terms of that if this starts before, say, the roundabout at Midland? Is there access issues or concerns, or if there's an age group there, emergency service access or response times? Is there any concerns around that?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, was a consideration of the application and something that has been unpacked at quite detailed length over the last few years with various applications in the area. So the closure of the stock route south of this subject property wouldn't actually restrict emergency service vehicles. So the intention being that there would be the droppable bollards of which emergency services could pass through the wetlands still to get to this site. Additionally, in response to your question about the roundabout, the requirements of the Department of Transport and Planning for this development require an upgrade of that intersection in particular, not to the standard of a roundabout, but if a roundabout is not yet constructed before stage 1 of this residential village was to be completed, Springtree would be required to do upgrade works to that intersection to make it safe enough for the level of development and the amount of traffic expected to pass through there on a daily basis.
And would that include sealing of that section of road?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the officer recommendation does not include any conditions for the sealing of Dead Horse Lane that's currently unsealed. There is another planning permit issued by council that does include those conditions relevant to the adjoining land.
The order just depends on which developer pulls the trigger first, per se.
That is correct. And the extent of infrastructure requirements by this development has a connection to significant upgrades for Stock Route itself. So Stock Route is currently an unsealed road. Council's engineering team have done a detailed assessment and determined it necessary that these developers would be required to upgrade Stock Route in front of the subject plan to a residential street standard, and then to seal the remainder of Stock Route to the north to get to Dead Horse Lane to a rural road standard, upgrade some drainage and the like, so that the whole of Stock Route would be sealed before this development was, before stage 1 is completed.
Thank you.
Councillors, I'll go around the room.
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Emling, can you explain the existing permit application that has been approved for this site and how it differs from the application in front of us right now?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. So there is a current planning permit on the land of 57 Stock Route. It doesn't apply to 104 Dead Horse Lane. The permit that currently applies to 57 Stock Route Mansfield includes a 76 lot residential subdivision. Lot sizes are approximately 750 square metres to 800 square metres in size. And that permit also includes a childcare centre of the same size and design that is included in this application. That permit was approved a couple of years ago and has recently received an extension of time to commence. Ultimately, should a permit be issued on the residential village as well, there would be 2 permits running on the land. As soon as one was commenced, the other would effectively be null and void and not able to be acted on.
Thank you. That was my follow-up question. So just to clarify, the applicant then has the option to choose which of those permits they act upon, if either.
The current landowner at the time would, yes.
The current landowner. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So just to clarify, the existing landowner has the 76 plot subdivision planning permit, and then this planning permit would be subject to the purchase by Springtree. Just to be clear.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is my understanding of the situation currently.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a query. One of the objectors raised concerns about a dam on the downstream property, and the impact it could have on banking water back up into this development. What and also noted that the council are doing Mansfield Shire doing a flood survey currently. Is this dam going to have any impact on this development as far as you're concerned?
Certainly, through Mr. Mayor. So council is currently undertaking a flood study where we're having flood levels mapped across the Mansfield Township. It has been very useful data to be able to consider this proposal and many like this. What has been taken into account is that the affected landholders of the dam on the northern property at 104 Dead Horse Lane are having effectively amended modelling done to determine if there are physical infrastructure works or remediation works that could be done to that dam to reduce the flooding impacts that it does cause upstream. So currently our modelling has shown that there is a dam wall on the back of that dam that does restrict flows out to Ford Creek, meaning south of that dam and affecting the subject land we're looking at right now, does have increased flooding impacts. To accommodate that, this proposal has effectively looked at 2 solutions. Should a physical infrastructure change to that dam be possible and achieve a relevant solution, then there would be a need for water quality treatment on site, and then the stormwater runoff would effectively be able to be directed straight into the waterway that then flows through that dam and out to Ford Creek. If that solution does not achieve the desired outcome, they have provided stormwater management plans that provide for on-site detention to ensure that water is not increasing the flooding impacting the area. Additionally, the officer recommendation includes conditions from council's engineering team that talks about lot filling, and there are requirements that lot filling and the floor levels of dwellings be above any flooding levels as required by the Golden Broken Catchment Management Authority.
So when will we know the results of that flood impact and the level of the dam? I mean, it's...
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I might answer that question. So at the moment, we know what the flooding, we've got a very good idea of what the flooding impacts are on that property with the dam wall as it is. Most of the flooding on this property and the property adjacent to the waterway are relatively low level flooding, so below 0.3, so below that 300 millimetre level, which is generally considered subject to inundation and the lowest level of flooding we incur in the municipality. What that means is, regardless of if something does happen, if there is some works able to happen to that dam wall, it will impact all of the properties in that area, and the water will be able to get away quicker, and all of that area will have less of that inundation. But there's not particularly deep flooding in any of that piece of land that would preclude the ability for it to be developed with or without changes to the way the water flows through the area. And then it's also worth pointing out that one of the conditions on the permit does also make sure that any filling doesn't have a negative impact on the adjoining property owner's land as well. So that would all be part of the modelling they would need to undertake as part of that detailed engineering design.
Thank you.
While I've got you there, Ms. Embling, one of the conditions 57, on page 63 of our agenda, is the Goulburn Broken Catchment Management Authority. And forgive my ignorance, I'm not quite sure what a statement of compliance is. Is that issued before you build or after you build?
Certainly, it's an interesting question because that condition specifically relates to the subdivision element of this permit. So the proposal before you has effectively 3 elements: the residential village, childcare centre, and a 2-lot subdivision to separate the village and the childcare centre. These conditions are framed in such a way that it talks about the timing of that subdivision. So the issuing of a statement of compliance is effectively the sign-off of the physical works required by a subdivision. In this instance, it is things like connecting water and sewer, telecommunications.
Yeah, and the flood impact assessment.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Right, and second question I've got for you is mentions on page 47 of the agenda under the photo of the tree. So any trees removed will be repurposed and used locally, which is reflected in a permit note in the officer recommendation. So how do you see the tree being repurposed? Is that part within the development or within the Shire?
Certainly, it was something that was raised through some of the objections about concerns of what happens to the wood from those trees once they are removed from the land. And the permit applicant has responded to council and confirmed that their preference would actually be to repurpose that wood on the site. However, if they exhausted their needs, they would open that up in collaboration with council or local community groups to see that that would be repurposed in the Mansfield Shire.
Yeah, okay. I've got one more question here. It was more or less about temporary barriers must be, sorry, page 60. Temporary barriers must be erected around the drip line of existing trees and maintained during construction to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. Is that council?
It is council in this instance.
And how are we going to make sure that that's done?
So I can give you an example of where that's happened successfully in the past. Council issued a planning permit for the retirement village at Bindari with very similar permit conditions for the large red gums that are just north of that redevelopment. What that looked like on the ground was either for one of the trees, they actually put up construction temporary fencing, so it's off the ground. And in other areas where the temporary fencing was able to be further away from the trees, there were steel pickets with bunting, so it was really clear to all the workers how far away from the trees all of the vehicles needed to be parked and all of the works could occur. A simple inspection by council officers once that fence was erected and photos saved to our files so that we have that on record.
Thanks very much.
I have one more question, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yeah, Councillor Clark's got a question.
Thank you. Ms. Emling, Is there any, prior to the tree removal, is there any investigation into fauna who have homed in that tree and any effort taken to rehome any native wildlife that might be there?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. So it's a standard recommendation in local arborist reports, which is wonderful to see. But the recommended conditions do require fauna assessments to be completed and qualified arborists or similar to actually inspect those trees and ensure that any wildlife that is in there is rehomed appropriately and that the lopping of those trees happens safely.
Thank you.
Have we any other questions, councillors?
I think, Mr. Mayor.
That case. The officers have included a recommendation on page 55 for our consideration. Councillor Tate.
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I'll move the motion on page 55 of the agenda. 55 through till 67, isn't it? 67. As read there.
Policy 55 to 67 policy. Got that? Yep. Got a seconder?
Yeah.
Oh, councillor Treasure. Councillor Tean, you've put the motion up. Do you want to speak to it?
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think this is going to be a real asset if it's done as it says it's going to be done to this community, to this town. As we know, Mansfield's an ageing town, an ageing population, a lot of retirees, and it's really been looking for a development like this. I must say, I thought it probably wouldn't be as large as this, and it'll be interesting to see whether the market can actually swallow up the what's on offer, but obviously it will be done in stages. I think given its proximity to town, I think it's into the central business district. I think it will be a real asset because people will be able to walk into town from along the rail trail and through the wetlands, and I think it'll fill a real gap in what we need in Mansfield without creating too big of a burden and impact on the regional look of the town. And I do hope that they do develop the childcare centre. It's a bit of a concern of mine that sometimes you can walk away from these things and just maybe whack more houses in. So in good faith, it will be good to see a childcare centre, in a new childcare centre in the community. And I think the community centre sounds like a fantastic number of uses there that otherwise would probably impact on the broader community in Mansfield. So I like the way that's been done, and yeah, look forward to it all happening.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure, you second the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does any other councillor want to speak to the motion? Does any councillor want to speak against the motion? Councillor Brenny?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Councillor Tan that there is a need for greater older age living, but I think that This application doesn't align with the strategic objectives that we have in our council plan. Strategic objective 1.1, strengthen community connection. Having a private clubhouse, I don't think aligns with that, even though they're good facilities. Strategic objective 1.2, enable active lifestyles through inclusive, accessible and utilised public spaces. We could use contributions to our public spaces to improve them for all. Strategic objective 2.1, to look after the environment and our country character. It specifically states protecting significant trees. Those who have been through the extensive part of the changeover and what that means for offsets, it is disappointing to see that more can't be protected. And on those grounds that I can't support this application.
Sure. No other. You, councillor Tehan, move the motion so you get a right of reply if you so wish.
No, I'd probably agree with a few of the things councillor Lorini have said, but I don't believe it goes against the council plan in terms of being a community-minded asset, because I think you'll find that if you look at somewhere like Bearlight Village, where you have a community centre there, all the residents in that village are still a big part of this town, use a lot of the facilities, but they have somewhere close by where they don't want to go there, they can. And I get a feeling that this will be a similar sort of thing in stock out here.
All right, so I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Against the motion? The motion is carried. Thanks, councillors. Thanks everyone that came in and did a deputation tonight. Thanks online if you're still in the waiting room. And we'll go on to 18.3.1 is the plan of consolidation 166, 176 Maroondah Highway, Mansfield. I don't know.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Missed
Sorry.
one. Oh,
Yeah.
Withers Lane.
Yep.
Sorry. 18.2.3 Withers Lane. WMF. MOU. And General Manager Planning, Ms. Crane. I've got a governance question on this that I've just thought about since I've read the MOU. The MOU says commercial in confidence. Is it okay to have this in the general agenda?
Happy for me to speak.
Yes.
Plugged in through you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Head of governance.
Yeah. If the details that are commercially in confidence are discussed, the agenda has been released to the public. It would be better if there are more discussion items that might disclose confidential items, commercial and confidence items that it wasn't.
Roger that. Thank you. We will proceed. Councillors, any questions? All right. Recommendations?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I might just also ask our General Manager Investment and Planning. She has been liaising with, and she might be able to just give councillors some reassurance on that, because she has been liaising with the with Goulburn Valley Water.
Yes, certainly, Mr. Mayor. The MOU is purely, there's not a commercial element to this MOU. It is purely about what will and won't happen within our township approaches, which is it's a visual impact protection more than anything else, and won't affect Goulburn Valley Water's commercial rights or obligations in any way. Yeah,
and there was a reasoning behind my question is to out there to make sure we're just super transparent here at Mansfield, and it's the reason why I asked it. Councillor Clark.
I'd like to move a motion that council endorse the proposed memorandum of understanding between Mansfield Shire Council and Goulburn Valley Water for the wastewater management facility at Withers Lane, Mansfield.
Thank you. Got a seconder? Councillor Bruni. Councillor Clark, you've moved the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Not Sigourney. Anyone else want to speak to it, against it? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried. Now we can get on to 18.3.1. Plan of consolidation 166 to 176 Maroondah Highway, Mansfield. Responsible officer, Strategic Property Program Manager. Renee Archibald. Welcome, Ms. Archibald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This evening. Councillors, have got any questions? Straightforward.
Yeah.
Very straightforward. Councillor Clark's out of the room, so just 1 second. I'll just stop the meeting until Councillor Clark comes back in.
And continue if you wish, Mr. Mayor. You still have a quorum.
We still have a quorum.
Yes.
Mm,
Otherwise, I think you could move to an adjournment to adjourn until,
yeah, we'll adjourn that matter until councillor.
so you'd need.
Well, we can't, because I can't talk about the next matter, so.
Yeah, you would need to just have a councillor move that it adjourns until councillor Clark returns. Or just for a 2-minute adjournment for a short break.
Or we can.
All right, we'll just move on.
Yeah.
It's a procedural matter. So,
Yeah. So. Move motion.
yes, well, councillor.
That council endorses the preparation. A plan of consolidation for the site at 166, 176 Maroondah Highway, Mansfield, to facilitate the creation of a single land parcel supporting the Mansfield Emergency Services Precinct, subject to the completion of all necessary statutory processes, including community consultation.
Seconder,
Oh,
councillor. Risha. Hey, you want to speak to the motion, councillor Team?
Very briefly, I think it's a good thing that we're doing this because I think it stops any potential sale of land, the sale of blocks without the whole of council approval. And it's been subdivided like that for a very long time. So yeah. And it gives a lot more strength to our proposal to have an emergency services precinct on site, knowing that it is one site now.
but yeah, may you please update me, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
What's the motion?
Yeah, I didn't know you'd
Apologies.
left.
Yeah.
And then when I found out you'd left, we discussed whether we were going to wait for you or not. And given that this was a procedural matter and we had a quorum, I decided to keep going.
Which is procedure, yes.
Yeah. But what happened was that councillor Tian put forward the motion that's on page 76, the agenda, to consolidate the land at the it's 166 to 176 Maroondah Highway, but we all know it as the Emergency Services Precinct, which as he said would make it a lot easier to attract funding. And moving on.
Thank you.
So councillor Tian moved the motion and councillor Treasure seconded the motion. He's just spoken to it. Do you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does anyone else want to speak to it or against it? In that case, I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried. It's easy. So 18.4.1 child safety and wellbeing policy. You are not unique, Snyder. So, sorry.
She's Echo Hoboken.
And welcome tonight.
Thank you.
Uh,
I will just say, Mr. Mayor, Nicole is actually head of our MCH team and she's acting for Jeanette.
yes.
Acting
Okay.
as in
So your surname?
Hoboken.
Hoboken. So thanks, Ms. Hoboken, for coming in tonight to discuss this. So councillors, have you got any questions? Ms. Hoboken? Councillor T?
One, yeah, Ms. Hoboken, it states there one of the key changes is that councillors have to hold a current working with children check, which is fine. I'm happy to do that, but all council staff also having to have a current working with children check, given that probably council staff are a lot more exposed to the day-to-day activities than councillors.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, as it's stated in the policy, not all staff members are required to hold a working with children check. So those that are working with children obviously need to, or those that may be in contact with children on occasions will need to hold a working with children check. I guess councillors are potentially coming to events where children are going to be present. So holding a working with children check is a positive thing to ensure child safety.
But members of the public may turn up at these events too, who probably don't have to, but yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that council has a responsibility to ensure that those members that are employed by council or are a face of council are they're doing their best to protect children. We can't obviously ensure that the members of the public are safe, but we can ensure that our staff and councillors are safe.
Okay, thanks.
Does a working with children, if you've got one at the CFA, will that suffice? We don't have to have a specific. So, yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Move that council endorses the child safety and wellbeing policy 2025.
Yes. Yep, no, councillor Bruni and councillor Clark. Councillor Bruni, do you want to speak to the motion?
Always good to strengthen these things, particularly in light of latest events plaguing the state. So always good to err on the side.
Councillor Clark.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other councillor will speak to, against, put the motion to a vote, those in favour of the motion? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoberger, for coming in tonight. 18.5.1, councillor appointed representation on committees. The responsible officer is the manager, People Communications and Governance, Ms. Stone. Welcome tonight, Mr. Bones.
Thank you.
Right. Are there any changes to last year's committee appointments, councillors?
Nope. Not
No.
for him.
The committees will be as they were in 2024-25.
Thank you.
So there's a recommendation.
Yeah.
We need to fill that in. Councillor Clean.
Yep, I can run through it if you
Right,
like.
yes, I
Yeah.
would like you to do that.
Okay.
You put the motion, yep.
That council appoints one councillor Arabi, councillor Treasure to the Mansfield Shire Risk Committee. 2, Mayor Councillor Arabi, councillors Tian and Clark to Chief Executive Officer Employment Matters Committee. 3, Mayor Councillor Arabi to the Station Precinct Community Asset Committee. 4, councillors Tian, Rabi and Treasure to the Australia Day Awards Committee. Councillor 5, Councillor Barini to the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, and 6, Mayor Councillor Raby to the Hume Regional Local Government Network. 7. Yes, and Mayor Councillor Raby to the Municipal Association of Victoria and Deputy Mayor Tian as Council's substitute representative. 8, Councillor Tian as Rural Council's Victoria representative. 9, Councillor Barini to the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, and 10, Councillor Raby to the Tungarong Local Government Forum.
Very good. I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, seconder. Go back here. Councillor Clark. Do you want to speak to it?
No.
Councillor Clark, anyone want to speak against to the motion? Vote. Those in favour? That is passed. Don't go anywhere, Mr. Bowen, because we have item 18.5.2. Schedule of meetings December 2025 to 2026. Hope there aren't any typos in here.
Perhaps they do.
So they're all 2026 except the December one.
Can I just
Yes.
raise the 17th of December is a Wednesday?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
So that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. Why are we having a meeting on a Wednesday?
I requested it because on the Tuesday
Oh, yes,
I'm
yes.
unavailable, and
Right.
you were all gracious enough to allow me to change it to Wednesday.
Yeah.
Much
With
appreciated.
your holiday schedule, Mr. Mayor.
My
My son-
wife's holiday schedule.
My son's primary school graduation's on the Tuesday, so good
Oh,
work for me too.
That works well. Okay, so has anyone got any questions about that?
No.
No.
All happy?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll move that council adopt the proposed meeting schedule for Mansfield Shire Council from December 2025 to November 2026.
Thank you. Got a seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Clark, the team want to speak to the motion?
No, thanks.
Councillor Clark,
I think.
any other councillor want to speak for or against it? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Bowe. Quarterly finance report 18.5.3 is the agenda item, and the responsible officer is financial controller Michael McCormack. Good evening, Mr. McCormack. Thanks for coming in. Thank you. Councillors, have you got any questions for Mr. McCormack?
I don't.
No. Yes, councillor Tennant.
I'd like to move that council receives and notes the quarterly finance report for the period 1st July 2025 to the 30th September 2025.
Thank
Second
you.
that.
Thank you, councillor Treasure, seconding. Councillor Teen, you want to speak to motion?
No.
Councillor Treasure?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The other councillor wants to speak to or against the motion? I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried. Item 18.5.4, which is the carry forwards 24-25, responsible officers, Mr. McCormack again. Councillors' questions from Mr. McCormack? Councillor Clark?
Mr. McCormack, can you confirm that the carry forward amounts return to the associated projects that they are aligned with in this report? And if this amount is carried over, it is only spent on that project moving forward?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can confirm that is the case, that those amounts are specific to those projects.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just you may not be able to answer this on the spot, but just in comparison to the 23-24 carryover, amounts. How does this year compare?
Through Mr. Mayor, I might have to take that on notice, or Madam CEO, you might be able to help with that question.
Yes, I'd be happy to help with that. They're significantly reduced overall, the quantum. And yeah, so it's continuing a downward trend.
Yeah. That was my suspicion, or my recollection, but I wasn't sure exactly. But I remember last year, yeah, they were very high carryovers. So it's good to see that they've been reduced and we're able to get a bit more stuff done when we say we're going to get it done. So well done.
Any other questions? I'll see. So, Councillor Clark.
I'd like to move a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I'd like to move that council approves carry forward funds from 24-25 to the 2025-26 budget for the completion of the projects listed in this report, totaling 437,834 in operating and $395,280 in capital. Noting that additional prepaid grant income totaling 384,232 was also received at the end of 2024-25 and will be used to construct female inclusive facilities at the Mansfield Recreation Reserve as part of the Play Our Way grant.
Thank you. And I've got a second that.
I'll second that, please,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Clark, you move the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Treasurer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other councillor want to speak to it or against it? I'll put the motion to a vote then. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. McCormack. Item 18.5.5, the Bonnie Doon Netball Court grant update. Responsible officer is a question mark.
Oh,
Yeah.
it should be. It is too. Oh. It should be our grants officer, but actually our grants officer is acting as our governance officer at the moment. So we have Emma McPherson, and I'll be taking any questions, I'm sure ably backed up where needed.
So,
Mr. Mayor, sorry.
I just had a procedural question.
Yeah.
I've overlooked. I play football for Bonnie Doon Football
Oh.
Netball Club, so I'll step out for this discussion. Just
oh, yes, okay,
Conflict
so,
of interest, yeah.
yeah,
Just
we'll come and get you, Mr. Brenny, when you well spotted. Okay, questions for CEO? No,
That's good.
in that case,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
Move
Councillor,
it, can we?
yeah.
Yep. I'll move the motion on page 100. of the
100,
agenda.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second it. Councillor T, you want to speak to the motion?
No, that's pretty straightforward. Good luck. Hopefully we get the grant and it all keeps going on there down there at Bonnie Doon.
That's speaking for it, so that's very good. So, Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to the motion? Does anyone else want to speak to the motion? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And the motion is carried.
I'll get it.
Councillor Clark, can you get, yeah, Councillor Brennan? I think that's 19. Welcome back. So we have Councillor Brennan and Clark back in the chambers for item 19, the council meeting resolution actions station. Status register. Recommendations on the page.
I'll move the motion, please, Mr. Mayor, that council receive and note Mansfield Shire Council meeting resolution action status register as at 13th of November 2025.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Brennan. Want to speak to the motion, Councillor Treasurer? Councillor Brennan.
Thank you.
Any other councillor like to speak for or against it? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion's carried. Advisory and special committee reports are nil. 21, authorisation of sealing documents nil. 22, closure of meeting to members of the public. Councillor Plan.
Move that council close the meeting to members of the public under section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider confidential reports in accordance with section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 for reasons set out in section 23 below.
Thank you. I've got a seconder. Councillor Clark. All those in favour of the motion? Motion's carried. We will close this meeting and be back shortly once we've considered the confidential items.
When most of these are survive.
Are you all in the breakout room?
No, no.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll just confirm that. That's information.
You get Simpsons.
Yeah, we use Simpsons.
Yeah. Always say I should do one.
You know, you don't have to, you can just.
I went to Simpsons the other day and they increased their fuel by 3 cents for a long weekend. You know, really. Locals trying to farm, bashed by the fuel prices. If you've been waiting, welcome back. While we're out of the meeting in the confidential meeting, we moved that we would enter into contract with Ampol, which is Simpson's Fuel, for a contract for fuel for our depot at Lakens Road. That will be included in our minutes of the meeting. So you want to know more about that, read the minutes. Also that we awarded a contract for Greenville Lane footbridge and shared part to Olex Civil for 237,293.85 ex GST. That's a great outcome. We also awarded the contract for the Lord's Oval Pavilion construction, which will be done by Lang Construction for the amount of $1,116,765.13 ex GST. That will also be included in the minutes of our meeting. The project Cody goes live, and that is about it. So I highly advise to read the minutes of the meeting when they're published, and you'll find out more about what we did in our confidential meeting, which was discussing contracts. So with that, thanks for watching and being part of Mansfield Shire's democracy, and I'll close the meeting. Thanks very much. Good night, councillors.
Mr. Mayor.
Good night, CEO.
Good night. Thank you. Done. Just